I live in a cul-de-sac. A safe, quiet street where nothing really happens. Everyone keeps their lawn tidy, waves to each other, and goes inside by dark. It's the kind of place where the most exciting thing is a garage sale. That's why what happened still doesn't feel real. It started on a Thursday. I remember because I was working late and didn't get home until after 10 p.m., the street was dark and still. I pulled into my driveway, headlights sweeping across my front yard, and immediately noticed something that made my stomach clench. There was a man standing at the end of my driveway, just standing there, facing my house, not moving. He wasn't blocking my car exactly, just standing off to the side, still as a statue. At first, I thought maybe it was a neighbor or someone out walking, but he wasn't dressed like someone taking a casual stroll. He was wearing jeans, a hoodie pulled up tight over his head, hands buried in his pockets. I sat in my car for a few seconds, headlights still on him, waiting for him to move. He didn't single quotes T. Eventually, I put the car in park, got out, and tried to sound confident. "Hey, can I help you?" He didn't answer. He didn't even look at me. Just kept staring at the house. I felt something tighten in my chest. I stepped closer, leaving the driver's door open behind me. "You okay, man?" He turned, then just his head, and looked straight at me. His face was completely blank, like no expression at all. His eyes were wide, glassy, like he was looking through me, not at me. I took a step back. "I'm calling the police." He didn't react. I got back in my car, locked the doors, and watched him through the windshield as I called 911. By the time the police arrived maybe 5 minutes later, he was gone, just vanished. The officers checked the area, walked up and down the street, but found nothing. They were polite, but I could tell they thought I was being dramatic. They said it was probably someone passing through. Maybe confused. Maybe drunk. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I told my neighbors. Nobody else had seen him. A few had Ring cameras, so we checked. No footage of him. Nothing at all. But that night, Friday, he came back. Same spot, same time. Just standing at the edge of my driveway, facing the house. This time, I didn't get out of the car. I drove straight to the end of the street and called the police again. Same thing. By the time they arrived, he was gone. The third night, I didn't go anywhere. I stayed inside and watched through the blinds. He showed up at exactly 10:17 p.m., not a second early, not a second late, just appeared, standing, staring. That time I called the police while watching him. But even as I was on the phone, still staring at him, he somehow disappeared. I blinked, and he was just gone. That was the first night I checked. All the locks 3 times. Slept with the lights on. Slept with a knife under my pillow. I started filming. I set up my phone in the window, recording for hours each night, but the next morning, when I checked the footage, nothing. No sign of him. Even though I had watched him with my own eyes, it got worse. On the 4th night, I didn't see him in the driveway. I felt relieved, until I saw something else. Footprints. Bare feet, dirty, right up to my front door. Looked through the peephole but didn't see anyone. I opened the door slowly. There was a note on the welcome mat. It said, "I like your windows." No handwriting. Just block letters, printed with a black marker. I didn't sleep that night at all. I just sat by the front door with a baseball bat, waiting, listening. Every little creak made me jump. By the 5th night, I'd had enough. I called in sick to work and installed motion lights, an extra camera, even moved a chair in front of the front door. I kept all the lights on, curtains shut, and sat in the living room waiting. 10:17 p.m. came. Nothing. 10:30, 11, midnight. I thought maybe he was gone. Maybe it was over. Around 1:15 a.m., I finally started to relax. That's when the power went out. Not just a flicker, a full blackout. Everything went dark. The lights, the cameras, the Wi-Fi, dead. Then the front doorknob moved just a slight turn. Then another, slowly, deliberately. I held my breath, gripping the bat, heart pounding so loud I thought it would burst. The door didn't open. After a few minutes, everything went still again. Then the lights came back on. The door was locked. Nothing. Broken. But the chair I had shoved in front of it? It had been moved just a few inches back. Like someone had pushed it slowly, carefully not to break in, but to let me know they could have. That morning, I packed a bag and left, went to stay, with my sister across town. I never told her why. I haven't been back to my house in months. I still get alerts from my front camera sometimes. Motion detected, late at night. No one ever shows up in the clips, but every now and then I'll get a still image from the footage. Man, just barely visible at the edge of the driveway, facing the house. Waiting. I don't normally travel alone, but last November I had to drive across 3 states for a last-minute job interview. Flights were too expensive, and I figured the long drive might help clear my head. The plan was simple: get halfway, crash for the night at a cheap motel, and finish the drive the next morning. By the time I pulled off the highway, it was already dark. I'd been driving almost 9 hours straight, and my eyes were burning. I passed a few closed diners and gas stations before spotting a flickering red neon sign. High Pine Motel, the kind of place with a single row of doors and a busted ice machine. Humming out front, I almost kept driving, but I was too tired. It wasn't much, but it looked clean enough. The front office was empty at first, but eventually a man came out from a back room. He was thin, maybe 60, with a smoker's cough and hands that never stopped fidgeting. "One night," I said, handing him my card. He looked at me for a second too long, then nodded. "Room 209, second floor, park out front." I took the key, one of those actual metal ones, not a card, and thanked him. The motel was almost empty. Only one other car in the lot. I parked under a flickering streetlight, grabbed my bag, and headed up the stairs. Room 209 was the second from the end. The lock stuck a little, and the door creaked as I opened it. Inside was what you'd expect: dingy carpet, a stained armchair, a bed with scratchy sheets, and that faint smell of bleach mixed with something older, something stale. But it was warm, quiet. I didn't even bother unpacking. I just kicked off my shoes and lay on the bed, scrolling through my phone, trying to unwind. That's when I noticed the sound, faint at first. Like muffled scratching. It was coming from the wall behind the bed. I paused, listening. It stopped. Mice, probably. Old building like this? Made sense. I plugged in my charger and got up to brush my teeth. The bathroom light flickered when I turned it on, and the fan was loud enough to rattle the mirror. I leaned over the sink, splashed some cold water on my face, and tried not to think about how gross the shower curtain looked. Back in bed, I turned off the light and closed my eyes. That scratching sound started again. Louder this time. More deliberate. I sat up. It didn't sound like mice anymore. It was too steady, like fingernails, lightly dragging in a slow, rhythmic motion. Not just random scurrying. Then I heard something else. A voice. Barely above a whisper. At first, I thought it was coming from outside, but no. It was in the wall. A soft, breathy whisper that I couldn't make out. I turned the lamp back on. "Hello?" I said, feeling ridiculous. Silence. I pressed my ear to the wall. Nothing. Maybe I was just exhausted. Hallucinating noises. I laid back down, keeping the light on this time. Sometime later, I jolted awake. I didn't even remember falling asleep. The room was dark. The lamp was off. I Always leave a light on in hotel rooms. I never sleep well in total darkness. But now the whole room was pitch black. I sat up confused and reached for my phone. The screen wouldn't turn on. Dead. I know it had been charging. Reached over to the lamp and flicked it. Nothing. I tried the main light switch. Still nothing. Power outage. Then I heard it again, the scratching. Only, now it wasn't behind the bed. It was under it. Slow. Deliberate. Scrape. Scrape. Didn't move. I just sat there, frozen, listening to the sound of something dragging across the underside of the mattress. Something with nails. I leaned over, heart pounding, and whispered, "Who's there?" The scratching stopped. Complete silence. And then a whisper. Not in the wall. Right behind my ear. "Don't look." I screamed and bolted for the door, fumbling with the lock. It took 3 tries before the key turned. I ran barefoot into the parking lot, chest heaving, not looking back. The man from the office was already outside. He must have heard me scream. "What the hell happened?" he asked. "There's someone in my room," I shouted. Under the bed I heard them. They whispered to me. He stared at me, and for a moment he didn't say anything. Then he sighed. "Room 209 doesn't get rented out much anymore," he muttered. "What?" I asked. He looked at me, then back up at the building. It used to be part of a longer wing years ago. Fire took out most of it. We rebuilt, but some folks say they still hear things, see things. I don't believe in that crap, but I usually keep 209 empty. He took out a new key. "I'll give you another room." I shook my head. "No, I'm leaving." I got in my car and drove until I reached the next gas station with people in it. I sat there until sunrise. I never went back for my bag. Weeks later, I tried to look up the High Pine Motel online. Nothing. No website. No reviews. Like it had never existed. I still wonder if I imagined it all. Maybe it was exhaustion. Sleep paralysis. But sometimes, when I'm lying in bed in the dark, I swear, I can hear that same sound. Scratch. Scratch, scratch. And every once in a while, a whisper that says, "Don't look." I've lived alone in my house for 3 years now. It's a small place, just 1 story with a tiny backyard and an even tinier front porch. It's nothing special, but it's mine, and after a messy breakup, I was glad to finally have a space that was just for me. I work from home as a freelance editor, so I'm used to being alone most of the time. Silence doesn't bother me. I keep the doors locked, the blinds mostly down, and I'm careful about not sharing too much online. Still, nothing really prepares you for how fast normal can turn into terrifying. It started with the back door. One evening, maybe a month ago, I came into the kitchen to grab a drink and noticed the back door was unlocked. I always lock it, always. I remember doing it because I double-checked before going to bed the night before. I thought maybe I forgot this one time. I locked it and didn't think too much of it. But then it happened again, 2 days later. I walked into the kitchen after a Zoom meeting and the back door was slightly open, just a crack, but open. I stood there staring at it, trying to convince myself I didn't close it all the way. Still, something about it felt off. Like the air in the room shifted. I locked it again and shoved a chair under the knob. Just in case, a week passed. Things seemed normal. Until one night, I woke up at around 2:30 a.m. to the sound of what I thought was something brushing against the window in the living room. Not tapping, more like dragging. I lay in bed listening. It stopped after a few seconds. I told myself it was the wind. I tried to sleep. The next morning I noticed something weird on the patio. Muddy footprints. Just 2. They were too big to be mine and went from the edge of the patio right up to the back door. No prints walking away. No signs of someone leaving. Just two prints, side by side, like someone had stood there for a long time, watching. I called a friend. Told him I was probably being paranoid, but he came over that evening and checked the house. Nothing. We walked the backyard. Nothing strange. He said maybe a delivery person walked through the yard or maybe even a prank. But I knew something was wrong. That night, I didn't sleep well. I kept waking up, thinking I heard something. A click, a creak, a low thump. Every noise felt louder than it should. At one point, I got up to check all the doors and windows. Everything was locked. Everything except the back door. Again, this time it wasn't just unlocked. It was wide open. I froze. The chair I had shoved under the handle was tipped over on the floor. The hallway behind me felt too quiet. I wanted to run, but I also didn't want to turn my back. I grabbed my phone, hand shaking, and called 911. I told them I thought someone was in the house. I whispered it because I didn't know if they were still there. Police came fast. They swept the house, top to bottom. Nothing. No signs of forced entry, no broken windows. Nothing stolen. But someone had been there. I knew it. I could feel it. The kind of feeling that burrows into your gut and stays there. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the couch with all the lights on, holding a kitchen knife. The next day, I had a locksmith change every single lock. I even had a security system installed, cameras, motion sensors, the works. That should have made me feel safe. But at DIDN single quotes T.2 nights later, the motion sensor on the back door triggered. The camera recorded it. I didn't hear anything at the time, but in the morning, I checked the footage. At exactly 3:17 a.m. The back door opened. There was no one there. At least, no one seen. The door just slowly opened and then stayed that way, swinging slightly in the breeze. The thing is, I had locked it. The new lock, deadbolt, alarm system didn't go off. But the door opened. I haven't had a good night's sleep since. The cops came again, reviewed the footage, told me it was probably a faulty door frame, wind sensor error. They were polite, but they clearly thought I was imagining things. Last night, something new happened. When I woke up, my phone was sitting face down on the kitchen table. I never leave it there. I always charge it by my bed. But there it was. And on the screen, when I turned it over, was a photo. A photo of me. Asleep in bed. The timestamp said 3:18 a.m. The camera was from the front-facing lens. My bedroom was dark, lit only by the soft glow of the street lamp outside. I don't remember taking it. I don't even remember moving the phone. I don't know how it got there. I haven't told anyone yet. I don't even know what I'd say. I want to believe there's a rational explanation. That I'm just tired, anxious, stressed. But I've stopped using the back door entirely. I keep every light in the house on at night. I sleep with a flashlight and a hammer next to my bed. And still every night, at exactly 3:17 on my wake up. I don't know why. I don't hear anything. I just wake up and wait.